From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas at Stunning Digital Marketing. In this episode of the SDM Show, Ryan Waterbury joins me for our monthly segment. And today, Ryan and I are going to talk about how the economy has impacted technology and WordPress development. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation that Ryan and I had. This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. Today I'm here with Ryan Waterbury, and we're going to record our monthly segment kind of talking about a little bit about the economy, where agencies are going, and we're just kind of going to hash it out for you. How are you today, Ryan?
I'm not doing too bad.
Good. You sound better than me. You were saying before the show, it's been a week, to say the least.
It has been a week. Yesterday in my newsletter, I talked about unplugging from social media, even though it's difficult. And fall is my favorite time of year. We, in the state, just experienced our first freeze of the season. So I'm happy about that. Locally, that our first frost will be tonight into tomorrow morning. So I get happier when it gets colder.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I'm actually, I was saying to somebody today, as you know, I've got a new Pixel 6a cell phone. And the nice thing about the 6a is it has a widescreen camera on it. So I'm dying to go for a fall photo walk very soon to test out the capabilities of the new camera. A couple hours out with nobody around will be just absolutely wonderful. So I'm with you on that one, my friend. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about the economy, where agencies are going, where clients are going. It's a bit of a rough time coming out of the pandemic for a lot of people. What are your early thoughts on that one?
2020 really crushed my business, and I was really deep into hospitality, including some small independent travel agents, a lot of restaurants that it just didn't do well or are utterly out of business now. So I had, shifted niches a few times and finally starting to just see general small business resurgence in 22. It was pretty tepid in warming in 21, but 2022 started to see some more confidence from some small businesses. But on the other hand, some of my long-term clients that weren't in the affected markets are seeing some, other side of the coin that they're not doing well as economically. So it's been kind of hard to predict on, how our market's going to go.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think, you were mentioning not so much from the agency side, but from the business side. And I think one of the things that's hurting small businesses right now, honestly, and big businesses is the lack of customer service. I mean, I've walked into multiple stores recently and had issues. I've walked into multiple restaurants recently and had issues, one which I talked about on my Canadian Rant podcast, and I've had one more since then. And I really don't think the work the work ethic of today's worker is the same as the ethic that you and I grew up with. I think that's part of the problem, to be honest with you.
That it's part of the problem. And I think a lot of today's workers look at their wages not rising to meet inflationary costs. And that kind of goes back to my pricing has increased because my costs have increased. Mm-hmm. Not only business, but my personal cost. Year over year, they always get higher. And it's tough to keep pace with inflation on a normal year where it's 2 to 3%. When we're looking at in the U.S. where it's almost 10%, it's actually more like 20. But I think the workers see that their pay isn't going up, and then they hear record company profits, which isn't true. The gross profits may be there, but the net certainly is not. Everything costs more. So there's just I think we're in that stagflation point where a lot of people aren't very happy, not seeing any forward movement, and starting to look at the technology sector. You talked about lack of customer service. When you start to see the big boys, and I'm going to talk about one that I've had good customer service and one that I've had bad, shuffling and getting ready for basically mass layoffs, it starts to make me think, being in the technology sector, that we should start tightening our belts. And I'm talking about Google and Facebook. Yep. And we all know that Facebook has absolutely zero customer service, but they are planning on mass internal restructuring, layoffs. Google is also planning on doing the same. And when you see the technology giants that have some large locked in contracts with other large companies tightening their belts, that kind of tells me that we're probably in for a little bit of hurt here in the future.
Yeah, and we've even seen it in even closer to home in the technology sector with web hosting companies. It's funny. I talk about that a lot, and we've watched GoDaddy basically reinvent their image. We're watching Newfold reinventing their image. And then you've got a company like SiteGround, who 2 years ago, as far as I'm concerned, totally killed their image with customer support and customer service. And then they go and do something like add EDD, easy digital downloads, to their offering, and they think that's going to fix it. And I took a poll on LinkedIn, in the LinkedIn group I co-managed a couple of weeks ago, and 45% of people don't care about the EDD offering. Doesn't that tell you something? So they're not making the inroads they think. And we're even seeing it in our own space. And I think what we got to watch is, throughout the whole tech sector, there's all kinds of mergers. They always say the best time to acquire is during an economic downturn. And Amazon, point and check, they've built their real estate empire buying land when the economy is bad. That's how they built their business.
Oh, absolutely. McDonald's actually is one of the largest real estate holders in the world, mainly because they rent out the property to all their franchisees. And they have done the same over the years.
Yeah, they sure have. And I just want to jump in and add to that. I just finished reading Ray Kroc's autobiography. And for those who don't know, a lot of people attribute Ray as being the founder of McDonald's. He was not. The McDonald's brothers were. He was the one who revolutionized McDonald's. And originally, he started McDonald's got into McDonald's with the McDonald's brothers to sell for his shake machine, and then realized very quickly McDonald's was not a hamburger company. It was a real estate company. And Ray, that's one of the reasons why McDonald's is probably in the top 5 most successful franchises in the world, because Ray identified that. So, yeah, sorry to jump in.
I know, and that's a good segue to and from and back to what the hosting companies are doing. Yep. they have realized that you're not selling hosting. And I think some of my customers have finally realized that I'm not selling hosting. And there's a good reason I don't call it hosting. I call it web care. It's because I'm offering a platform and service. The hosting companies have finally realized that to differentiate themselves, they need to start offering more than that inexpensive hosting. They have to have good customer service when there's a technical problem, and specific to the platform that's become popular, WordPress. But, you talked about GoDaddy. They purchased the SkyVerge plugin suite. And are really building their WooCommerce platform and offering. Yeah. They also have their own payment processing gateway, which is pretty easy to integrate into WooCommerce. And they're starting to build a platform that once you're in, it's kind of hard to leave. And
it is.
It's not necessarily a lock-in, but by buying these software companies, they're offering you a very specific service, and if it fits for your business, it's good. But if you ever want to go somewhere else, it makes it kind of tough. So, you talked about SiteGround picking up easy digital downloads. I think that's good for them. We on the inside know that, hey, it's just more platform building. All the hosts have been doing it. WP Engine, when they purchased ACF and the plugins from Delicious Brains, they're trying to be more developer focused and centric. Yeah. Everyone's trying to carve out their niche in the WordPress hosting offering community.
Yeah, and Newfold with Yith and Yoast as well. Need to throw them in the markups. I recently had a demo of the Newfold offering from Dave Ryan. Shout out to Dave up at Newfold. And it's interesting. And they're trying to make it easier. So what these hosts are becoming is, I almost think they should remarket themselves as web integration specialists, if you get where I'm coming from, because that's what we're starting to see in that space. And even look at our friends over at Liquid Web. They own Stellar and iThemes and all of that. So, they're all going that way. And frankly, at the end of the day, they're the ones with the deep pockets. But I want to jump back into tech for a minute. I saw an interesting offering before we went to record this morning. And we're even seeing the economy impacting non-agency stuff. Just for reference, Google's about to offer a new Chromecast at $24.99 US. That's 4K and better than the previous one. So doesn't that tell you what the economy is doing?
Oh yeah, I think advertising and technology are two of the early indicators on what's happening with the economy. Mm-hmm. So from when I talked about the worker shuffle at Google and Facebook, part of that has to do with the work from home ethic and some of the CEOs out there that are demanding that their employees get back to the office, and there's that struggle. So that's not, I don't think that that's as firm of an indicator, but when you start seeing pricing changes, drastic changes, for some of new components and new markets, or smaller markets for a company, that tells you that they're trying to shift and adapt and evolve.
Mm-hmm. And you've even got, you watch the tech space, you've got Amazon jumping in and having a second Prime Day this year, right before Black Friday, interestingly enough, or very soon. So you got some of that going on too. So we're all trying to jumpstart the market. By the way, worth mentioning, if you're a small business or or a small business client or a medium business, and you're trying to do anything for the Christmas season, your plan should have been in place like yesterday. We're at that point where we're almost at 0 day if you're trying to market for the holidays, I think. But.
Oh, yeah. Black Friday, Giving Tuesday, the nonprofit niche is one of the other markets that I had served and really found myself shifting to, because they were able to survive the economic downturn in 2020 and moving forward. And some of the Giving Tuesday and holiday end of year request, we started working on those programs in August. Mm-hmm. And, just like we would with any other commercial Black Friday marketing plans, that really, when the back to school retail timeframe kind of is winding down, you've already been working on your next major promotional series for at least a week or two. And, that's usually in August. Into September soft, but yeah, you're absolutely right. If you're not starting to think about or have plans in place to have Black Friday promotions starting today and getting ready for your marketing program, you're really behind the eight ball right now. It takes time to put that together. We've talked about the kill of the tracking pixel, which makes gathering data easy. So it takes we're starting to see a shift back to more traditional time frames with marketing, that there's a longer lead time to really understand who you're going to market to, who's interested in your product, and taking the time to prepare for that particular demographic.
Yeah, I would agree with you. As an agency owner, what should you be doing to weather the storm? I was kind of looking at my agency the other day, and I think I'm in a better position than most people. I've got care plans on the go, lots of them. I've got partnerships with a couple other big agencies, which helps. But besides that, and finding some reoccurring revenue, I think a lot of it comes down to treating people the way they want to be treated instead of just kind of doing it and putting some personal service on it. What do you think?
I really looked at my agency, pre-2020. I had a couple of near full-time contractors and had a nice small agency, and I'm back to a company of one, but I'm also making strategic partnerships, have web care. And I used to do everything, PPC marketing, SEO, email marketing, graphic design, print buying, web design and development, web care, hosting, and consulting. I really decided that you can't give the full service and the service that customers are coming to expect and actually need and want, that differentiates you if you're offering that wide band of services. So I've tightened down to web development, design, and search engine optimization, and email marketing for a handful of clients, because it works well with some of the tools that we built right into their websites. But narrowing down the focus and not going into a particular industry niche, but doing a horizontal niche of, here are the services that I offer with my agency, and I'm going to give them to you at 110% and do them extremely well, because I don't think that's being done out in the world with a lot of industries today. Just you talked about it earlier, and the customer service just isn't there. But by offering less services and focusing on a few and doing them extremely well, I'm finding that I can give better service on those.
Yeah. Two phrases I'd like to throw out there just for references. People basically choose who they're going to work with. So a lot of our agencies have the same offerings, but a lot of it comes down to whether they like you or don't like you. I hate to say that. And this phrase, and I know people at this podcast and people like you are going to get tired of hearing it. I keep saying marketing is like dating. It takes time, and you need to put the time and the effort in. So those are two things I really believe in strongly in this business.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, building a relationship with your clients. I have clients that have been with me since I incorporated my agency in 2016, and we're working on some new projects. They've continually been good clients, and I built a strong relationship with them. And I think that's important for everyone moving forward. That you're absolutely right. People don't do business with you because you have the best price. They do business with you because they trust you and they like working with you. If you make it easy to work with you, you've already won the battle.
I agree. 100% agreed on that one. I also think, I think we got to be flexible to a point, but I think we also got to stop chasing as agencies bad work, even though we're in a tough economic time. So I'll give an example of that. And then we were talking about this off air. I had one prospective client recently who was chasing me and couldn't make up his mind about getting his website back online, even though his previous web care person brought their server down. We were all set to go, and then he writes me an email this morning saying, I'm not doing this. And I thought, really? So the way I look at it is, A, I dodged a bullet because he would have been probably a pain in my backside that I didn't want at the end of it. And B, we got to, and I wasn't prepared to turn around, and he sort of alluded in email and said, I was expensive. Well, why did you agree to it in an email? And do you not understand that I don't charge an hourly rate? And I've had this discussion with many people. I've got over 14 years running an agency. When you come to me, you pay for expertise. So if I can find a way to do it faster, that's great for you because you get it done faster, but you're not getting it any cheaper because it got done faster. So your thoughts on that whole issue and scenario?
And it sometimes it comes down to people not valuing your time. Yep. And I've had a couple of clients in the past, and one currently who is a lawyer by trade, and they bill for everything. I mean, you pick up the phone and they're billing. You would think that clients like that understand that your time is worth something, and there's a certain cost to do business. I'm all for value added services and helping a client out, but in the other sense, everything's getting more expensive. You can't afford to leave things on the table. Mm-hmm. So when we start looking at as agency owners, even though the economy is kind of looking into a downturn, it's still okay to say no. And it's probably the right thing to do because there's work, right around the corner. I'm seeing the bounce back from a lot of new clients that are ready to do stuff, and they've been waiting for a right time. And some of them are realizing that there's no time other than now that's the right time to fix some problems that have been on the table for a while. And being able to say no to clients that don't want to work on those problems, it's a skill that you acquire after, years in business. And sometimes it hurts, especially when you're new and you don't have a lot of that recurring revenue. But it's, something that needs to be done. Working with the wrong clients certainly can cost you money versus making you money.
Yeah, and it can cause you time and headaches and stress that you actually don't need at the end of it. So I think, having the right mix. And as I always say to people, discovery calls are not just for the client, they're for you, the agency owner, as well, because you can decide real quickly, is this the right fit for me? Is this going to be okay? Is this going to fit into my portfolio? And so on and so on.
In my lead flow, and I had in 22, it's actually been closer to normal as far as new leads and requests coming in, which I think is a positive sign, even though, the economy is not doing very well. I'm seeing new people and new clients requesting meetings and, asking for business. I have a spot where I call it lead qualification. And, that 15 to 30 minute call will give me an idea if that person is someone I want to work with and if we're a good fit. Not everyone is. And sometimes their expectations are not what you're offering. And if your service offering doesn't match what they need, or their personality does not work with your personality and work ethic and expectation, it's going to cause you more stress, anguish, and anger before eventually parting ways, and usually not in a good term. So I take that time to really try and get to know the client as much as I can in that short time frame, and decide if we want to go to the next step, which is a discovery session, and that's paid. And that paid discovery session is always credited to a build if we move forward, but it clearly outlines very specifically what we're going to do. Usually have a site map built out and a structure. So if they want to leave and have someone else do it, great. But I've gotten paid for putting that work together and building the project plan. And nobody's out, that they have an understanding of what they need. I do as well. And I have only had one person in the last 7, 8, 9 years that has taken a discovery plan. And unfortunately, it was during the time when I hadn't learned my lesson. It wasn't paid, but they took a plan and left and decided to try and build it themselves. And they ended up not doing very well, came back later and wanted help. But really identifying people that you want to work with and can truly help makes things easy for everyone.
No, I would agree with you. And the key is wanting to help within specific boundaries. I mean, everybody's got to agree to the boundaries at hand, and I think that's a really big issue. So what would be your number one thing that you need for if you were suggesting to an agency to do to kind of weather the storm right now?
I would invest in content marketing. Honestly, one of the things, and I know in our small mastermind group, we've, talked about podcasting, and, I'm very fortunate that you've invited me to participate in our monthly discussion. But finding a communication medium that you can be consistent with, whether it's blogging, podcast, or an email newsletter, and something that is directly tied in and brings people back to your website to get them to talk to you really helps. And I can tell you that I do a bi-weekly newsletter every other week. And every time I send out that newsletter, either a prospective client who has booked some time or a current client has reached out to me with something that I've said in the newsletter and asked for help. And I think it's important with being consistent and staying in front of your current customer base. We've all heard that it's cheaper and less expensive to keep a good client than it is to go and find a new one. And that's absolutely true. So staying in communication with your current clients and your prospective clients at the same time through one of those methods, the only investment is time in those methods. Well, aside from podcasting, you might need to pay for podcast hosting somewhere, but that's a relatively small investment compared to building a giant PPC campaign that will cost you a lot of money and might not get you the same results. So that's just my 2 cents: is invest your time in content marketing and start to build your website, your email list, your listener volume for your podcast, and invest in knowledge and things that you can share with your clients.
That's really good thought, Ryan. Thanks for joining me today. And if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how's the best way?
On every major social media network, although I'm not there that much this season, at One Dog Solutions. You can visit my website, onedog.solutions, or email me. That's probably the best way, ryan.waterbury@onedog.solutions.
And make sure you ask him about his 2 office managers that don't seem to be pulling their weight lately. I don't know why.
They certainly are not.
Have a great day, Ryan. Thanks for joining me.
Bye-bye. You too. Bye.
This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. A very special thank you to Ryan for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. Thank you for listening to this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing. For more information about Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing, go to stunningdigitalmarketing.info. From here, you can connect to us on social media, go to our website, and even go to the podcast to subscribe. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Make your business succeed.